Can you watch it? Yes, you can! What's up, guys? It's Mr. Artist here, and this is a slideshow of my original series, Bob the Builder promo image editorials. I have loved Bob the Builder since childhood, and I still love the show to this day. And there's nothing anyone can do or say to change my mind. Bob and his machine team have built my childhood. They have made it nostalgic and enjoyable, and I thank them. My favorite character is Scoop the Yellow Backhoe. I nicknamed him my backhoe buddy because he's a backhoe and he is my fictional best friend, and he still is my fictional best friend today. Bob and Scoop have participated in building my childhood, pun intended. And if I met Bob and the machine team, the first thing I would do is hitch a ride on Scoop because he is my favorite machine. I used Canva to make these editorials, and as you can see, I inserted the logo on some of these editorials. As I mentioned, Bob and Scoop have participated in building my childhood, and I am forever grateful. Don't get me wrong, I love all the characters, especially all the machine characters, and even though Scoop is my favorite machine character and Bob is my favorite human character, I am not devaluing the other characters. I loved building with building blocks when I was younger, and Bob the Builder is the reason I love building things. Because, well, Bob is a builder, and Bob the Builder is a construction-themed kids show. I still watch Bob the Builder to this day, and I even have some Bob the Builder books in my house. One of which is Scoop Saves the Day, and it's one of my favorite Bob the Builder books because it's mostly all about Scoop. The first Bob the Builder book I remember reading is Scoop Saves the Day, and I think that's the reason it's my favorite Bob the Builder book of all. Like I mentioned earlier, I also have some Bob the Builder books, and one of which is Scoop Saves the Day. And this right here is my favorite illustration from the book, Scoop Saves the Day. I remember one time when I was very little, I went to Walmart with my dad and we bought a talking toy Bob that came with a large toy Scoop. And as of then, it was the best toy I've ever gotten. And I think that was my first ever encounter with Bob the Builder. I don't remember my first ever encounter with Bob the Builder from television, but I do remember first becoming a fan of the show since the summer of 2009 when I finished kindergarten going into first grade. And it still is my top kids show to this day. I also remember picking out Bob the Builder DVDs and books when I was younger from the library, and those were really fond memories. I also own 2 Bob the Builder DVDs, but I don't watch them anymore because my DVD player doesn't work anymore. So instead, I watch Bob the Builder on YouTube, Prime Video, and Tubi. Something I had to deal with growing up was others telling me that Bob the Builder, quote-unquote, is for babies, and every time I heard someone say that, it made me angry and it hurt my feelings because I love Bob the Builder, and it's not a show just for kids. Adults can watch it too. Even in early elementary school, I had to deal with other kids telling me that Bob the Builder is for babies, and that made me angry. But I still persisted with watching the show, and I didn't let others' opinions get to me. I realize that there is barely any Bob the Builder items in stores nowadays, and that makes me a little sad because I love Bob the Builder, and seeing that they don't have many Bob the Builder products available makes me feel kind of sad. However, you can still find Bob the Builder products on eBay and Amazon. Well, mostly on eBay, that is, because eBay has the rarest items, and Bob the Builder items are pretty rare, so you can find Bob the Builder items on eBay. I plan on creating a toy Scoop collection because the toy Scoop that I've had from childhood is broken and I want to get some brand new ones to make
make up for that.
The early Bob the Builder seasons are the best because I like the original voices of Lofty, Bob, and Spud. Spud's US voice in the original series was very funny. Unlike with Thomas and Friends, it's hard to tell which season is which in terms of this show, as most seasons look very similar to each other. For example, seasons 1 through 6 look very alike, and so do seasons 7 through 9. In seasons 1 through 6, along with the special A Christmas to Remember, Scoop's mouth has thick grill bars, whereas in season 7 and onwards, Scoop's mouth has thinner grill bars. Personally, for me, an easier way to identify each season is looking at Scoop's mouth. I love Scoop's US voice as it's very cool and it's very masculine. I can relate to Spud when it comes to food temptation. I cannot resist delicious food like desserts and junk food, and Spud always manages to steal other people's foods when he's hungry, but I don't do that. A minor but interesting detail I've noticed about the machine team is that each machine's color is the first 5 colors of the rainbows. If you were to consider Trix the forklift as a machine team member, she would be the 6th color, purple. Since Bob the Builder never made it to theaters, I was thinking that they could make a Bob the Builder theatrical documentary that could be released eventually. That's an idea I'll discuss in a future video. Now here's an image of Bob and Scoop from one of my favorite Bob the Builder episodes, Scoop Has Some Fun, which is the 9th episode of the 3rd series. Scoop seems somewhat out of character in this episode as he's more silly than he is straightforward, but he becomes straightforward again in the end. It's because Spud was persuading him to play tricks on the others. I also loved seeing the Scarecrow get a taste of his own medicine at the end. Here's another one of my favorite episodes, called Scoop's Stegosaurus, and in this episode, Scoop, along with Bob and Lofty, dig up a dinosaur skeleton, which is of a Stegosaurus. Discovering things is really exciting, and this episode is part of the Bob the Builder DVD release called Digging for Treasure. I don't own that specific DVD, but I do own 2 other Bob the Builder DVDs, which are Dig Lift Haul and Scoop's Favorite Adventures. Anyway, this episode should have been featured on the DVD Scoop's Favorite Adventures instead of the episode Mr. Ellis's Art Exhibition, as this episode, Scoop's Stegosaurus, is mainly about Scoop. Interestingly, this show was originally titled Scoop's Troop because Scoop is the team leader and the other machines are his team. This is an educational show for children, especially children like me. I felt like I learned a lot from Bob and the Machine Team, such as the value of teamwork, positive messages, problem solving, etc., and best of all, the meaning of friendship. Despite having a rep for causing trouble, Spud is one of the most relatable characters, especially when it comes to eating, as I love to eat. Seeing Muck holding a soccer ball in this image, I'd love to play a game of soccer or sports with the Machine Team, and Bob and Wendy too. So this episode, Bob in the Bandstand, reminds me of the various Bob the Builder stop-motion series songs that weren't in any episodes but did have music videos. They were released in a special video called Bob Stars. Speaking of songs, the most famous Bob the Builder song is its very own theme song, which we fans all know and love. Also, I think this image of Mr. Bentley, Wendy, and Scoop could have been a little wider. Anyway, I think this image of Scoop depicts him laughing. I can't really see his mouth, but I'm certain this is an image of him laughing. I can tell Scoop is laughing just by looking at his eyes. I love this image of Bob and the Machine Team along with Mr. Bentley and Farmer Pickles. It's very wholesome. Similar to how Farmer Pickles likes to participate in the band during his free time, I also like making music and songs of my own, which I upload to my SoundCloud platform, and you can check them out there. As I may have mentioned previously in this video, I copied and pasted the logo onto these images using Canva. I love Scoop's shade of yellow paint in this image. It's very distinguishing. And I also love the little assignment that Bob, Scoop, Dizzy, and Lofty are doing for Mr. Bentley. They're making a picture out of stones. That's very creative. And I also like this image of Bob, Scoop, Lofty, Dizzy, and Pilchard. It's really distinguishing. I'm at a loss for words. I love this image of Scoop and Pilchard from the episode Pilchard Steals the Show, and the book based on this episode is titled Best in Show. I love Scoop's shade of yellow paint in this image and also in this image. In all honesty, Scoop is the most important Bob the Builder machine character to me, because without Scoop, there'd be no Bob the Builder. Well, without any of the machine characters, there'd be no Bob the Builder. So here are more images from the episode Pilchard Steals the Show. And these are more images of Scoop and Pilchard. And I gotta say, I love Scoop's shade of yellow paint in these images. It looks very distinguishing. As I mentioned previously, I have loved Bob the Builder ever since I finished kindergarten going into first grade, and I still love the show to this day. Recently, I've been watching Thomas the Tank Engine more, and I make a lot more videos on Thomas the Tank Engine than I do on Bob the Builder, but I'm going to try to watch Bob the Builder again. I'm still likely going to make more content on Thomas the Tank Engine than I am on Bob the Builder, though. Nevertheless, Bob the Builder is still a true nostalgic asset to my childhood and always will be. And that being said, this is the end of the video, and I will see you all next time.